Here come the boys. Y'all ready to go swimming, baby? Come on. Give it up. Get out of that water. I tried telling y'all, it's swim lessons, baby.
They are currently 11-0. They are off to the best start in Minot State University history. They are the Minot State Beavers. I had the opportunity to sit down with head coach of the Beavers, Matt Murken. We talked about what makes this team so special, how deep his love for the game of basketball goes, and some great life lessons that Coach Murken has learned along the way. I got a chance to watch the Beavers also play this past weekend, and I say this not lightly. One of the better teams I've ever seen play. The man-to-man defense was phenomenal. Offensively, they had this great flow, very, very non-selfish team, and they were just a lot of fun to watch. And I wish them the best. I really appreciate Coach Murken's time, and make sure you check out some Minot State Beaver basketball here in the upcoming future. But before we get to Coach Murken, we got to talk about PSP Network. It's game day. PSP Network has been promoting local student athletes for a very long time. Right now, they are in the heart of girls and boys basketball season, along with boys and girls hockey. It's a great time to be a fan of PSP Network. Make sure you check out their schedule of events on their website, psp.network. And also, subscribe to their YouTube channel. Throw them a few likes, will you? Throw them a few likes on their YouTube at PSP Network. Nick Holberg and his crew do an amazing job. We're very appreciative of them. So if you've got a local student athlete here in this great state of North Dakota that you'd like to watch, PSP Network is the place to watch them at. Next up is River's Edge Bar and Grill. They are known for offering the best happy hour in Williston, North Dakota. They provide unbeatable deals and a lively atmosphere as well. Guests can also enjoy a variety of entertaining activities, including bingo, trivia, and the very popular Name That Tune. Come down to the River's Edge for great drinks, great food, and great fun. And I love a good hamburger. Who doesn't love a good burger? I love Glosso Angus, a proud sponsor of Swim Lessons, the podcast. Glosso Angus is your premier source for registered Black Angus cattle since 1973. Glosso Angus cattle showcase dominance, durability, and docility, and they are built to thrive on the northern plains. Check out Glosso Angus, that's GLASOE Angus.com. Fancy Panda is our next sponsor. Fancy Panda Design is an independently owned design studio that specializes in branding, logo design, marketing. They focus on adding value into your business to be as successful as possible. Who doesn't want to be successful? Deliberately distinctive design. Get fancy with Fancy Panda. Love some Fancy Panda. And our next one is BSN Sports. Really appreciate BSN Sports. Since 1972, BSN Sports has helped area sports teams look their best as they strive for their goals and dreams. They provide apparel, uniforms, and equipment for teams in nearly every sport. Local service with a national reach, that is BSN Sports. Contact your local BSN Sports representative for more information. BSN Sports is a proud sponsor of Swim Lessons, the podcast. And last but not least, the great and wise Game Day Media. More than a game, your leader in live video sports coverage in Northwest North Dakota. At Game Day Media, our goal is to expose, support, and promote the best athletes that North Dakota has to offer. Subscribe to our channel at Game Day Media ND on YouTube. Find us on Facebook at Game Day Media for schedules, quick links to games, stats, everything you need to know about that favorite student athlete of yours, and also enable alerts, and make sure to watch for upcoming events Game Day Media has to host. All right, without further ado, I give you one of the more fun, great basketball minds I've ever got to meet, and that is head coach of the Minot State University basketball program, Matt Murken. Thanks for letting me come to the Dome, Coach. Appreciate this.
Yeah, absolutely. Always fun to talk Beaver basketball and sit around and just talk hoops with somebody. So happy to do it.
I came to your game last Friday, and I have to say I've been seeing a lot of bad basketball, like high school basketball, everything. It was so good to see great man-to-man defense again. And I mean, your guys' squad looks so good.
Yeah, you came to one of our better defensive efforts of the year too. So to be fair, but I think a couple things come into my mind when you say that right away. Number one, really happy with our effort that night. We really got after it defensively. Just I don't think we've played a possession of zone yet this year. I'm not saying that we're not going to. We've done it in practice a lot, but I'd prefer to play man-to-man the whole time. And we've spent a lot of time on that practice-wise. And, to the high school stuff, it's so exciting to have the high school basketball going now, and a few games, kicking off last weekend. And we were laughing about it the other day. I've got, 2 guys on our coaching staff that have coached a whole lot of high school basketball games and won a whole lot of games. And I think our practice plan last week was like practice 57 or something like that. And they're like, man, we have like 5 before our first high school game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a little more time there to get after some things that way, and a little bit more attention to detail probably we're able to do here. But, that showed on Friday night. We really guarded extremely well. We've got, we tell our guys, like, you've either got to be, just athletically at a different level and use that. You've got to be tough at a different level and use that, or you got to just be like, just smarter than heck on scouting report and taking away, exactly what they want to do wise, either individually and team wise. Like, if you have some combination of all those, then you can be a good defensive player. But I think our guys have bought into that, and some of them are really long and really athletic. Some of them are really quick. Some of them are maybe not just physically gifted like that, but they can pay attention to detail and take care of things that way and set themselves up to be successful game plan wise. So to see it come together Friday night was really good. We've got to keep that up. And, honestly took a step back the next night. We played Saturday night and we allowed close to 50%, almost 50% field goal shooting. So then it doesn't look quite as clean that night, but always a work in progress, right? At every level.
My favorite player on your team, though, is the big kid from Australia, number 50. And I went to the game with my girlfriend, and he's going up and down the court, and she's like, he's kind of got an awkward way of going. I'm like, well, the guy's tall, but he kind of moves awkward, but he's fast. Yeah. He's very agile on his feet, and like, if he gets the ball in the low block and he gets a step on a guy, it's automatic too. Yeah, I mean,
he's, if you're a basketball fan, these stats will make a whole lot of sense, but like, he's close to 80% from the floor this year. He knows what a great shot is. He sticks to what he does best. He's knocked down a few threes, but he's only shooting wide open.
No kidding.
I think he's 4 of 7 on the year now. We finally got him to do that. He's got a great, just natural touch. The ball comes out of his hands really well, soft around the basket, soft from 3, perfect spin on it, perfect arc, all those things. But I think the biggest thing with him is just, he knows who he is as a player and he sticks to it. And he's a really hard worker. For a big, strong, thick guy, he's got probably one of the quickest second bounces that I've seen for a build like that. He bounces like he's a long, skinny guy. Sometimes you see that athletically, but he's a unique player for us. I think the biggest thing I can say, compliment to Caleb, is this weekend we're like, he was a little off this weekend, and I think he missed 2 shots. I think he was like 19 of 21, and he averaged 20 and 10 for us. And but I don't think he played his best quite yet. And he's just been a real force for us, a big reason. And I'll go off a little bit on some of the guys in our program right here, but it's his 3rd year with us. Played maybe 10 minutes a game as a freshman, maybe didn't even play in every game. And then his next year is a little bit better, maybe 12 minutes a game. And then we've got Trey Brandt and Jaden Wysocki, the same thing in that same class, that didn't play their first 2 years. Yeah. And it's such a credit to those guys to just kind of sticking with it and playing the long game, because the way college basketball is right now, that doesn't always happen. Some guys are out of there after that first year. You're not starting, not playing, not shooting enough, whatever it might be. So to just keep at it and keep getting better, those 3 especially, but hopefully all the guys in our program are doing that. Our job's to make them better every day. And you know what I mean? But man, it's easy to say that as a coach, and it's hard to sit there and not play as a player at any level. But man, those 3 have really done that, and it's really paid off for Caleb, especially this year. Been player of the week in our league and one of the better players in our league for most of the year so far.
So right now, as we sit here, this is going to come out on Wednesday, but you guys are 11-0, correct?
Correct.
Is that the best start to Beaver basketball history?
Yeah, I think our sports information guy put that out last week. I don't know that for sure. I know we've had a couple other, I think we're 14-1 last year, or 14-1 one year when we had Tyler Rudolph out of Century one year with 20-win season. And then I think we were 14-2 last year. But man, 11-1. But the biggest thing is, like, we have so many new guys, so many young guys that haven't played, and it's just like, we look at it and like, man, we're just scratching the surface.
It's got to be a good feeling as a coach.
You know what I mean? And it's a lot more fun.
You haven't peaked yet.
Yeah, the biggest thing is it's a lot more. We tell our guys this every day, man. It's a lot more fun to learn from your mistakes when you still win.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the old Don Meyer quote is, for every 100 men that can handle success, can handle failure, there's but one that can handle success. And sometimes you worry about that a little bit. I was listening to Joe Mazzulla last year from the Celtics, and actually Derek White was talking about it. What are your Mazzulla sayings? He's like, the two most dangerous words in the English language are good job.
Yeah.
And it is kind of true. And you got to tell your guys good job when they do it too. But like, you know how it goes. You get a little false sense of confidence, and it's all about getting better, whether we're 0-11 or 11-0 right now. We'd be sitting here and talking about, hey, what are we doing at practice tomorrow? How do we get better? How do we keep getting better? How do we play our best basketball down the road? And that's that boring coach talk, but that is what basketball is, and what sports is. I think is just trying to keep getting better a little bit every day, and be your best when you need it later in the year. So,
well, everybody sees you now as the head coach of Minot State, but Coach Murken, I want you to take us back to when you fell in love with the game, and we were like, oh man, I think basketball is going to be a big part of my life.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite things to talk about is, growing up in the gym, my friends, I'm really passionate about education, and really passionate about basketball. I get to do both those things now. But a lot of my friends growing up, I had keys to the gym because mom or dad were a teacher or whatever. And man, that was awesome. Sneak in there. We had a little saying, we call it the SBA. I'm not gonna say what the SBA stands for, something Basketball Association. And I remember playing with the older guys in that, and somebody's dad had the keys to the gym, and Sunday nights we'd always be in there playing. And when you're younger, man, you just want to get on the court. You want to play with the older guys. You want to run up and down. You want to have fun out there and doing that. And then I remember I was in high school, and I had gone to this small Christian school that had a really, really great coach. You look back at when you're a coach, all the great coaches you had, and we had a coach that was statting practices and giving points for diving on the floor and stuff like that in junior high. And we were playing at that point in time. We had like a little Lutheran school basketball league. There was a Catholic league. There was a public league. And we were playing in every league. Like our coach just kept signing us up for every league, and nice. He was working the schedule kind of like he's a low major coach trying to find those find those events. So we're playing like 35 games in junior high, not even realizing how unique that is. And then when I'm in high school and I'd go back and shoot there and shooting around, and they were having a camp, and a coach didn't show up or couldn't work it or whatever, and he's like, "Hey, Mark, do you want to coach this? Like you'll have like a seventh grade team or whatever." So I was like, yeah, man, I get paid to coach basketball. Yeah, of course I do. And working camp, and we're doing a ton of fundamentals and all that stuff. And I just loved it, and knew it was going to be a big part of it. And then that was kind of my summer job. I was working these camps all the way through college. Our assistant men's basketball coach at Concordia University, when I was there, became the head women's coach. And he had these huge camps. And by the time I was a senior, I'm running a site. He had like 12 gyms in these small towns in Nebraska.
That is huge.
And I'm running one of the sites, and he's paying me pretty well to run that site. And I'm like, man, this is so cool. And went back to Iowa, was a junior high teacher for 3 years, had middle school science. I was the entire science department. And doing stuff like going to the butcher shop and bringing in cow lungs to the classroom and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Just trying to have fun with it. And but coaching basketball I was a JV coach at a high school, assistant varsity coach for a year, playing pickup all the time at a local NAIA school called Mount Mercy College. And the coach there was like, hey man, I got like $1,000. My first job, I got paid a video camera. I was the assistant, and my head coach, Wes Bruns at Xavier High School in Cedar Rapids, I was like, man, you really love the game. Like, would you want to go scouting? Yeah, man, I go scouting. All right, I can't pay you, but I'll give you a video camera if you're my assistant, for my JV coach. All right, cool.
Whatever it takes.
So, did that, then got paid $1,000 to be at Mount Mercy College. And I was basically running their open gyms because our head coach coached golf too. And, in the fall, spring, you want to open the gym, you're playing every night anyway. Here's keys. Oh man, now I got the keys to the gym. So playing pickup with those guys. And then we had a senior that year, and the next year he's a fifth year senior student assistant. His name is Brian Berg. He's at Ole Miss now. He was at UNLV for like 2 weeks with Chris Beard before they went back to Tech, and then he was with Tech, and then he was the head coach at Georgia Southern for a while, and now he's back with. But we were sitting there and we're like, man, let's make a run at this. Let's be college coaches. Like we hung out all the time. I'm like 25. He's like 23, a fifth year senior, and we're like, we got to be GAs. We got to be grad assistants next year. Let's make a plan. Let's write a letter to 50 different schools. Let's make a run at being college coaches. And that's kind of where we really decided to, I'd been teaching junior high and absolutely loved teaching. And just a quick story, I'm out at my mom's place. I'm teaching in my hometown. My mom has me over for dinner. We're sitting around talking, just having fun. And she's like, and I said something, and I said, hey man, I better get going. I got to get back. I got to go in early to work tomorrow. And my mom says, man, I've never heard you call it work before. Usually said, I got to get into school tomorrow. She says, maybe it's time to get a new job. If you're calling it work.
Mom knows best.
all right, let's go coach. That was kind of when it was, when it clicked. I was like, let's go coach. That's not work for me. That's what I'm thinking about. In sixth period science class, I got sixth grade science in there, and I'm thinking about drawing up plays on a napkin. You know what I mean? So that's when I decided to make a run at it. And with North Dakota ties, Rico Burkett hired me at Wayne State College.
Okay.
To be a graduate assistant, and drove out there, interviewed, drove back, called me that night, told me I got the job. I said, all right, I'll be back tomorrow. Is that work? Is that early enough? He said, yeah, come on back. So got in the car and drove back. And, Rico played at UND for, and for Coach Glass. And Coach McDermott was on staff there. And Coach McDermott, who's at Creighton now, got the Wayne State job, and Rico went with him. And then there's a number of guys that, the GA.
You got to coach with McDermott?
I didn't get to coach with Coach McDermott. He had left to go, when he went up to NDSU, Rico took over at Wayne State. And then, but those guys were all, then I started working all those guys' camps and hanging around and just picking up stuff. So that's kind of the, and then Eric Henderson was our top assistant, who's the head coach at South Dakota State now. And this is funny too, because Hendo's passionate about education and obviously basketball too. But Hendo, the spring of my GA year, you never know when it's going to be your time as a coach. You need a break. And Hendo decided to be a second grade teacher. So he stepped away from basketball. He just goes to be a second grade teacher, and I got hired full time. That was my first full time gig. And then, Hendo ended up being a high school principal, and now he's the head coach at South Dakota State. Long story there. He's, you know what I mean? But you get to know all these guys through networking and just hanging around. And so that's kind of the journey. I went from there to, I was assistant at Wayne State for a number of years, then went to Des Moines Area Community College. And then University of Jamestown when they were in NAI, and then Minot State when we made the jump to D2. Rick Hedberg was our AD and hired me here. So that's kind of the quick story. But you just got to be ready. You got to be ready for your opportunity. It's a long, winding road sometimes, and but man, it's been a lot of fun. All those different levels: assistant, head coach, JUCO, NAI, D2, all those different things. It's met a lot of great people. Had a lot of players that I really enjoyed coaching. It's a lot of fun now to kind of be in a place for long enough to have all guys checking back in now. It's probably the most fun thing about getting off to a good start this year is guys are checking back. They don't want to check in if we lose a game, and they don't want to talk to coach then.
Yeah.
No, they do a little bit then too, but they're like, man, great job. We're coming to the game. We're coming back. So that's always fun that we've had. Over 10 years now, guys graduating from Minot State and checking up and seeing how things are going. So that's a little bit of the journey, and so every level from high school. And I should have said when I was junior high, I was also coaching junior high basketball too. So pretty much every level, you know what I mean?
It's a tough level.
It's
junior
fun.
High is tough level.
Man, it's fun. It's fun. I think at that level, I was even more so just didn't get caught up. It's important to win and compete, but like at that level, I was just like, man, let's just get in the gym and have fun and get better. Just get, really able to focus on getting better. And we had really good kids as far as like just wanting to work at it and, not losing sight over the fact of, the winning is important. Don't get me wrong. Like it's important.
Yeah.
You got to teach kids how to compete, how to be their best more so than the actual scoreboard winning. Easier said than done. Right. And, but at that level, it was really just the love of the game and getting better. And in some ways that innocence, I love that part of it. You know what I mean? I love that part of it. When I did that, and I've loved every step along the way since then. So that's a long answer to your question, but
no, I appreciate you sharing that. And you touched on something there though that I think is really important in today's day and age is some folks are forgetting like networking skills because you never know when you're going to need help from so-and-so that you met at a camp back in Missouri and be like, hey, I know a guy there. You can maybe get us some film or a good scout. Like it's such an important key not to burn your bridges and, it's just so important to me. And like when you touched on that, you wouldn't know half the people you do without a good networking system.
Yeah. And everything about it, just kind of the thing that popped out. I didn't tell this part of the story, but when I was going to be when I went back to teach, so when I was in high school, we had a really good team, lost the state title game my junior year. We had a sophomore on our team, was a pretty good player, didn't get moved up to varsity. And we were good friends. And the next year he transferred to another school. And we had a lot of starters coming back, a lot of guys coming back. We were highly ranked, number one in the state again for part of that year. But he transferred to another school. We remained friends and stuff like that, and we're close. And man, he ended up being a way better player than I ever was, even though I was playing over him because I was a year older. But he went on to play at Wayne State College, and I went back to Iowa, and his dad owned a restaurant. And when I was teaching, on Friday, Saturday night, we were family friends. My sister was the same grade as his sister, all this stuff. So I'd go work at the restaurant. They're talking sports in there. We're making tenderloins in the back. we're having fun, just talking sports pages back there, whatever's in season. We're high school all the way through pro stuff. We're talking about whatever. And I did that a couple years, and then a couple years later I apply at Wayne State, and Rico, I didn't even put it together. Rico calls up my buddy Jones. He's like, Jonesy, like, what's up with this Murk guy? Like, he's like, oh yeah. I think he called Brad's dad. He's like, yeah, that guy worked in my kitchen, man.
The tenderloin guy.
Yeah, you know what I mean? He's like, that guy's a hard worker, great guy. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just like trying to do the best you can in different ways. And I don't know if I get that, you got to know somebody who knows. I don't know if I get that job if I'm not doing a good job back in the kitchen. You know what I mean? Like I'm just doing that job for fun on Saturday nights when I'm 22 years old or whatever. But it's certainly those connections and camps and different stuff. And, I mean, it's you just run into it more and more. The basketball world is a big world, but a small world in some ways too, and you can just, I mean, man, I was able to hang around with a lot of guys took me under their wing when I was a young coach, and I just hang around with a notebook, man. And I've got my pen in my notebook here, and a guy named Randy Brown, that mentors a lot of coaches that was on staff at Iowa State for a long time. And man, they'd be getting together and they'd call me, hey, we're doing this, swing by, bring your notebook, and just sit there and write, write stuff down.
It's like a free clinic.
Yeah, all that stuff. And then working camps, man, it's just nothing as good as working camps all over the place. And just, Roy Williams was the best one. That was the best camp when he was at Kansas, because you had to work like two and a half hours in the morning and 2.5 hours at night, but you had like a 5-hour break, and then they'd pay for you to go golfing. They'd pay for you to, go to the fitness club, any fitness club in town you could work out, all this stuff you could do. And one of the things you could do is you could just go up to the offices and talk to their film guy and watch whatever film you wanted.
Whoa.
So I'm like, I know what I'm doing, so I'm just up there taking notes on everything, and all that stuff was just, just basketball junkies. So, a lot of different things written down over the years. Some of it works, some of it doesn't.
Yeah.
And it all evolves. And then you think of something you did years ago, and you're like, oh, well, now I have different players to put them in. Maybe this works from here, but tweak this, and how do we evolve this? What we're doing X's and O's wise to try to make it work for the team we have now and put them in position to succeed. So
Roy Williams is the best. I went to a coaching clinic a long time ago. I was coaching basketball when I was going through college, and the head varsity coach was like, hey, we're going to go down to Vegas to this Nike coaching clinic. Roy Williams was the head speaker. He was at North Carolina.
Yep.
And so he's talking, and he's like swatting at his leg the whole time, and he had like a long mic, and he just swats the heck out of this mic, and he goes, oh, I thought it was a bug, it's daggone wire. Like, he's just the man. Like, he seems just a funny dude.
He would do a coach's social, and we're like, he's going to buy food out of this little pub downtown or whatever in Lawrence, and he'd show up and, just sit and talk to you. You know what I mean? And that part's fun, as you're a student of the game, and just those guys come around and they're like, let's talk basketball, man. Just like we are right now. They want to talk about this or that or whatever they saw. So, it could be, whether that's the local high school coaches or some of these guys that are, big name D1 guys. A lot of coaches just want to sit around and talk hoops, man. No,
that's
share some ideas, and that's what makes it fun, right? Like
1,000%.
Yeah.
You've got a guy coaching with you right now, Coach Brandt. I talked to him a couple days ago, and I think the story with Coach Brandt and Trey, his son, is very unique.
Yep.
When you're bringing in a coach like Coach Brandt, and okay, Coach Brandt's a good coach, very successful at the high school level. This is a jump up to collegiate. He's also got a kid on the team. Like, are you thinking about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think about everything way too much, man.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I mean? But I think what we wanted to do when we came here a long time ago was like, we wanted to, there's been a lot of good players and a lot of good coaches in Minot State basketball history. But we felt like for a while here, it hadn't all been tied together, and people needed to come back into the program, and it needed to be important, and there needed to be some history there. And, so we have 2 guys that played here on our staff now that are former high school coaches with Coach Brandt and Coach Lemke. So that's all. It's important to them. It's important to them. And the same with our local players. We had, Nate Mertens was one of our first recruits out of Devil's Lake, and I knew the character he had. I had coached his older brother. His older brother was a captain for me when I was at Jamestown for a couple teams. But like those local guys, and then Tyler Rudolph was the all-time leading scorer and rebounder here, and Jackson Gunville and Ben Bull were on our team last year. Jackson's still here, and we signed 3 North Dakota kids this year already.
3 great players.
Yeah, we're really excited about it.
The Ramsey kid's legit.
Yeah. It just seems to mean a little bit more to them. A lot of them know who Minot State is for a long time, come to our games. Parents went here, they're playing in front of friends and family. So, but the same with the coaching staff, man. We got guys that played here that it means a little bit more to them. And, so that's a big part of it. You know, is guys that really want to be here and have a little extra pride in MSU. And so that's been great for us. And then, you know, Coach Brandt's situation is great because I've always said, you know, I always wanted to have one of those coaches that's just seen it all a little bit, you know, there's just a different perspective. And we've had a lot of good assistants and a lot of good young GAs and stuff like that too. But some of these guys have seen the ups and downs of different things. And we joke about some of the stuff I ask them, but they you know, they just have a perspective that's great to have on coaching staff. And then you add in, you know, and Coach Brandon obviously coached Trey at Beulah, you know, for a long time. That's not the easiest thing to do.
No,
you know,
no, it's not.
You know, and I've talked to so many coaches about coaching their kid, and some of them said, man, I was, you know, most of them say I erred on, you know, I was too hard on them. Most of them say that after the fact. And, you know, sometimes we went home a little bit upset about stuff, you know, couldn't leave it, you know, other guys would get over it, and we're at dinner talking about a turnover or something like that. But, you know, there's a different dynamic there, but he's done that before, and he knows how to do that. And that's not something we were concerned about, you know what I mean? And obviously had that had that conversation on the front end because it's a different dynamic. But
well, as soon as Coach Brandt came, I was like, oh, I'm a Minot State guy now. Like, I really like Coach Brandt. I've watched Trey grow up, and I was like, oh, I like the Beavers.
Yeah, I mean, they've just been so, you know, you just respected the way their teams played for a long time from my perspective. And, you know, when I was an assistant coach, man, I was at so many practices. You know, I'd go out recruiting, and I was still single at that time, so I'm just driving around and staying out for, you know, 2 weeks at a time. Sometimes, like, watching everybody practice or whatever. And, you know, sometimes you go to practices and you're like, you know, you're like, yeah, whatever, you know, kid's okay. And sometimes you go to practice and think, man, that was a really good practice. Like, there's some things I can steal from that. You know, they're going to be pretty good, whether they have great players or not. And, you know, he did a great job with that program for a number of years. And so that's kind of gives the idea of, well, we know this guy's got the attention to detail. Maybe he doesn't have the staff or the time or the practice time that we have at the college level, but he's got the attention to detail that he can do that if he needs to. So that was a good ad for us with that. And then Coach Lemke now has also been at the college level. You know, he's at Northern State as a GA way back, and one of the Minot State greats, Coach Holtz, was assistant there before Coach Holtz came up here and was head coach for a long time. So, you know, some ties there. And Coach Lemke played here as well, and his uncle coached here. You know, another one of the Minot State greats. So, you know, a lot of ties there too. And then was a longtime head coach in Fargo. So he's and then it's just that perspective of, you know, being the guy that, you know, you have both things. Yeah, the head coach is like, oh man, they're good job by the head coach, or oh man, they're bad job by the head. It's not really true either of those two things. Yeah, a little bit, you know, but at the end of the day, I think it's like having to sit in that seat a little bit is, you know, it's a great perspective to have had, because you had to make that final decision, and not just make suggestions, make that final decision. So have guys that have done that before is so valuable for me, because they know the weight of it. And like we were joking about, like, overthinking things, but they know that, like, you know, we talk in my coaching class. I teach a coaching class here for fun still. And we do these scenarios with, you know, this made up scenario of this kid or that kid. And, you know, you'll say this kid did this or whatever. And kids, you know, the class will say, oh, kick him off the team, man. Kick him off the team. You're like,
it's not that easy.
You know, and then we're like, hey, well, then okay.
What if he's a stud?
You're going to, what if he's good? Oh, it doesn't matter. Kick him off. Okay. Then we say, like, okay, well, then his mom comes in and says, you know, last year he was doing this and that, and now his attitude's so much better. And, you know, he only has football. He only has basketball. What happens if he doesn't have that? He's going to fail out. Then, okay, well, then what do? You know what I mean? Or or there's mom and dad say, hey, we don't have any opportunity. You know, what about this or that? Like, if he doesn't get a football scholarship, I don't think he can go to school. What are we going to do? So then I say, well, what are you going to do then? You know, then they kind of sit me and be like, man, it's not that easy, is it? I'm like, no, man, you're going to, you know what I mean?
There's a ripple effect.
So you better know what you stand for. And it's not always easy, but you know, again, just doing another Coach Meyer here. But when I was at Wayne, I lived in Coach Meyer's mom's basement. I don't know if you know Coach Don Meyer.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of legend, of course. And so I lived in his mom's basement. So I've got some of his original VHS tapes in this old leather suitcase after he passed away, which is crazy. But he, you know, he said, hey, he would say, you know, hey, if the decision comes down to either you or the program, that decision was made a long time ago, you know, and that's the hard truth of it, I think. But that doesn't mean it's easy to, you know, to make those tough decisions. And that's part of being a coach at any level. Yeah. Like high school, college, NFL, whatever it is. Like, maybe what's best for one guy isn't best for the team. And it's part of the deal that you have to live with. But man, it eats at you a little bit. You know, you want what's best for everybody, but that's not always the what you can do either, right? So
when you were going to recruit a kid, you kind of touched on it there, but what's something that you look at when you're going to recruit? Obviously, all the kids you're recruiting know the game of basketball. They're probably pretty good. But what's something that you look at like, okay, I want this kid to come to Minot State?
Yeah, we talked about some of the kids we have coming. Man, number one, do they win? Does their team win? Because, if whatever, the Cougars play the Lions and the Cougars win, 90-30. And then, it talks about the Cougars, and then, how does the guy from the Lions get in the paper? It says, well, so-and-so from the Lions had 16. Well, your team lost by 60, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want guys who thinks that that's what it is. And so winning is that's a habit. That's something that takes a lot. We talk to our guys a lot about, look, man, like if you come here and you're from, not to pick on, let's just say Bottineau, you're from Bottineau, and, you guys, let's say you guys are ranked number 1 in the state, you have a great team or whatever, but you're going top 5 versus your next 5. Like, who's that 10th guy in your team, Oh, I'll say, no, seriously, who was that? Oh, that was Bill. What's he doing now? Oh, well, he's working at the bank. Oh, he didn't go play college basketball? No. Okay. Well, today on Tuesday at 3:00 when we have practice, you're playing against an all-stater that, scored 1,000 points, and he's not playing for us. You know what I mean? So like, however you competed in that regional final, you better compete like that every day. And you can't just be better than other, so I got that. And then I tell guys too, like, hey, what do you love about basketball? And then if they say something like, oh man, Friday nights are awesome. The crowd. All right, man, what if you don't play the first 2 years? Because you better love the gym on Monday, the weight room after practice when you're tired. You better love 6 a.m. shooting. You better love all that stuff. You better love your teammates. You better love getting better. So then
we're kind of lay it out to him how hard it's going to be.
Yeah, and the older I get, the more I just go to that right away, because I don't want him not happy. I don't want to deal with that this next year when it's like, man, if you don't love that, you're not going to love that first year unless you're playing. And I'm telling you right now, a lot of times the freshmen aren't playing for us. Mm-hmm. There's not many in this league that play. Because the reality is there's levels of this too. And if I'm going to offer him, then NDS, if he's going to play here and it's going to be easy, then NDSU's probably offering him. And if he's going to go there, then the Gophers are, or whoever. And then Duke is, or whoever's giving guys millions to play at NIL deals now. So we try to lay that out there. Do you like to win? Do you love the game? Do you like to compete? Do you like the process of it? And then one other thing we try to look at is like, okay, what's your, and usually it comes with winning, but like, what's the history of your program? Like, if you show up and you don't do what you're supposed to, I don't care what that is. I don't care if that's pressing. I don't care if that's zone. I don't care if that's, if Dickinson Trinity's running the flex and reversing it 18 times. But there better be a standard that you have to carry out. And if you don't do that, you don't play, because then you know what I mean? Then you understand that, hey, what we're supposed to do, we do it. And we figure out how to make that work. And then I figure out how to use my talents within that system at the high school level, because that's what we have to do at the college level too. We have how we're doing things. We're tweaking it to fit different guys, but like certain things aren't negotiable. You got to move the ball. You got to take care of the ball. You got to make multiple efforts on defense, all those things. And if you can't do that, it doesn't matter what else you're doing. You know what I mean? And then a little bit like, what can I count on you for? And and I tell guys this too, it's like, there's a lot of rich dudes in the NBA that are 3-and-D guys. Mm-hmm. I'd do that job. I'm too old to do that job, but I would love that job. I don't think I'd be saying, well, why don't I get to shoot, fadeaways like LeBron does? Well, there's only like 6 superstars. What I mean? Those guys that are getting $42 million to be a 3-and-D guy are they're enjoying being a 3-and-D guy. So the point of that is like, Dennis Rodman made a lot of money doing defending and rebounding, and certain guys certain guys are great at one thing and they know it, and I'll put him on the best player. We're not rebounding well, put him in. They're playing zone, put him in, he shoots it. So we're not taking care of the ball, put him in, he never turns it over. So if I know what I can get from you, then we can do our best to try to put you out there with guys that fit together, right? If we're not sure and you're inconsistent, that's hard for us to know what to do. And that's probably life too, right? Like
1,000%.
People that you can count on are pretty valuable no matter what your 1,000%. Occupation is. So you can develop that skill and be hardworking and love it and have fun at it. You're probably going to have a pretty successful career no matter what it is.
Yeah.
And hopefully guys leave our program knowing that and saying, hey, this is how I helped change that program there and help make Minot State better when I left than it was when I got there. And that's what I'm going to do, with my family, with the bank I work out, with the company I work out, whatever it is. And those guys can have successful careers doing that stuff. So
what's your offensive philosophy?
Yeah, don't turn it over. Number 1, don't turn it over. Number 2, ball and player movement. And then from there, just know your sweet spots. I'd rather have you be really good at one thing and know it and shoot 100 of those. Let's get in the game. Let's have Jackson Gunville shoot 15 threes.
He can shoot,
you know what I mean? And the big kid we talked about earlier. All right, if you're gonna shoot 15 shots, probably 14 of them are layups. But so take care of the ball and player movement. Know your sweet spots, and then the last thing on that is we put an emphasis on can you get to the free throw line? So basically, rim, threes, and free throw line. Can you get to those spots? Those are the best points per possession in all of basketball. Can you get to those? If you can be elite at shooting the three, you get the bonus point there. Obviously, a lot of shots around the rim. If you can finish there, it's a high percentage, and the free throws are always a high percentage. So can you do those? That's what we try to emphasize on offense. And you don't have to do all of them, but can you help move the needle in one of those areas? That's really big for us. So we've been, even when we haven't had our best teams, we've been, top 50 at least in the nation out of 300 plus D2 teams in ball control and taking care of the basketball. And that's, and then we have some sets that we run and stuff just to get the ball moving. If we don't like the way it's going, we have a couple that we run where everybody touches it and then the action happens after that. And ball and player movement, man, it's just more fun with guys moving around, I think. So that's kind of the offensive side of it.
I loved when during the game you were up by 14, but the team was kind of making a run on you, and you did exactly what you were just talking about. You could tell your rhythm was off offensively, and you did like something like it was elbow or something, and it was like a backside double pick, and it was a wide open layup, and you got it, and then the team regained its confidence. Then their run was over. Now your run beginning. I think that's so big to like have those sets. Hey, we're gonna get a good shot here.
Yep, that's one of those plays. Everybody touches it on that play. You know what I mean? It's the ball goes from one side to the other. Everybody touches it, and then we play out of that. And it always seems good when it works, right? So
yeah, when they work.
But everybody got to touch it on that play, and that sometimes gets takes a little bounce out of the other team that's on a run if they have to guard a little bit longer sometimes too. So that's I guess the general philosophy on that side. And then defensive side, we talked about that a lot, but we're just talking about multiple efforts, man. Multiple efforts. It's never done until we have the ball. So you got to make multiple efforts. We talk about on the other side, we're saying know your sweet spots, KNOW, and on defense, we're saying NO sweet spots. So we got to know what their best shot is and take that away. So you better know, if he's a shooter, don't let him shoot. If he's only drives left, don't let him drive left. And then the next part of that is we need guys that can control rim shots and three shots, right? So if you're an elite defender, all right, you keep the ball out of the paint. Now we're not in rotation. There's a spot for you probably. You can wall up at the rim or be physical at the rim and protect the rim. All right, there's probably a spot for you. So, and then the last thing is just pursue the ball with two hands. At the end, we got to be able to rebound to win. We did that really well on Friday. And out rebounded like 16, 18. So those are what we call our non-negotiables. The first team meeting, we go over those on O&D each year, things you got to do to win. And then we just say, hey, you got to find your niche within those. Like, what can you do? You may not be a great rebounder, but man, if you can guard the ball and keep it out of the paint, that's pretty valuable for us. That's valuable too. So play your way, play what you do best, but fit into our, what the way we want to do things. So
what's the future of Minot State basketball look like?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is just, I want guys that love the game of basketball, and I want guys that compete really hard, and I want guys that I love coaching. And we're meeting up over here today, and when we record this around my kids' nap schedule, because I've got 3 kids that are 4 and under.
Yeah, I appreciate the time. Really, thanks for doing this.
I got and I want my kids to come to the game and love our guys and be around them, and they do. They talk about them. They talk about, Dylan did this. Like, my kid loves Dylan, man. It's this guy, and he can't stop talking about. I got to stop up there and see Dylan. So I want to coach guys that love the game and play hard, but I want to coach guys that my kids love being around, and I enjoy being around too. And I was at the Final Four. I was on a bus. I still do the bus, the NAB, National Association of Basketball Coaches bus at the Final Four. And I'm sitting, this is New Orleans, and I'm by some old guys in the back there. There's Southern accent on there, and they're talking, Coach, where are you from? And so I said, how'd you like your team? And that was the year we had 13 2-possession games that we lost. This is a couple years ago. And I said, man, we had this, but I love my team, man. Like, we were, and I go, but, and I kind of said, I suppose everybody says that. And these guys are like retired, high school. They're telling me their story, and they all stopped and looked at me, and they go, Coach, man, everybody doesn't say that.
Yeah.
So don't forget that. And I was like, man, like, you guys are right. Like, everybody doesn't say that. But it was true that year. It's been true almost every year here. We try to, we said it again last night after we won. We said, some days you, some days me, but every day us. And that's what I want, guys that believe that, you know what I mean? whatever happens, they might want to talk to Caleb after the game or Jackson after the game, or media might say this, or this guy, whatever, might have 20, this guy might have, but every day it's about us, and everybody gets their turn at some point in time. And easier said than done, and just trying to coach guys that believe in that makes it a lot of fun. And, and then the future for me in Minot State basketball is just, man, checking in with these guys. We beat Bemidji State last night, and they have a younger brother, one of the guys we coached, and he was like, man, coach, good win, man. Like, you took it to my younger brother, and just that, that stuff, guys checking in. How are they doing? Our former student managers coming down to the game. This upcoming Saturday, he's the football director of football operations for the Saskatchewan Rough Riders.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He's like,
awesome.
give me 2 tickets, man. I got to come down. He's
That's
like,
awesome.
He said, you need any ketchup potato chips? Or saying, no, those aren't good, man. Just keep those up in Canada. Come down, hang out. I got a t-shirt for you. I got a big 3X for you, big boy. But, the future for Minot State basketball for me is just keeping up with these guys, man. It's fun now that we've got a legacy here, I think, of seeing what they do. Like, they're just such good kids we got guys playing in different countries. We got guys, working in all these different fields and coaching. And we had a walk-on from Brazil. Our former GA had an academy in Brazil. We had a walk-on from Brazil that's coaching at Watford City now.
Oh,
what a
wow.
cool story.
Yeah.
He's in his second year there, checking in all the time, and all these guys. So that's the future of Minot State basketball for me is, what do these guys do that I got to coach, man? What do these guys do that played so hard for us and helped turn our program around from, going from when we went from NAI to D2, man, I don't think people realize what that.
It's a big jump.
Like NDSU, when they went D1, they didn't join the Big Ten.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we joined the Big Ten of D2. We joined the top of the top. Yeah. Minnesota State won it last year. There's in men's and women's last year. So we joined a high major D2 league, and we had to. There's a lot of hard work that's gone into this program before I got here, but we had to take it to another level. So just a pride that in the young men that have helped do that, both coaching wise and student athlete wise, is just huge for me. So, and just keep recruiting guys that respect that and love that and want to play the game the right way, I think.
Well, listen, Coach, we've been at this for 35 minutes already, and swim lessons, Coach Murken, is about overcoming tough times. What can you leave us with? Is something maybe you look at when you look in the mirror and know, okay, I got to kind of get over something here, and maybe somebody that's listening can make it applicable to their life.
Love it, man. Yeah, I didn't know why the title was. I love that. My 3-year-old's in swim lessons last summer.
Okay.
Man, was he terrified. And then I'm videoing him like any happy dad is of, man, I was so proud. He'd run around and some of the kids would hop off the edge and he'd go up to that dive, man, look terrified and hop in. And he'd come up just happy as heck every time, and it's like, man, that looks, he's 3 feet off the water looking, which is his height, just looking terrified. Man, when you get a shot, you got to take your shot. You know what I mean? You got to dive in, man.
It.
It's scary as heck. You rarely regret it. That was what I thought when I went to be a GA at Wayne State College, getting paid $4,000 a year and thinking, can I make this work? And never regretted it since then. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, I've had, this is a little deep, but I'll go into this. Like, I remember when I was going into my senior year when my dad died in college, right? Had a heart attack, young. And I remember sitting there praying that night, and I said, man, this is rough. Help this be something that I can use for good to help somebody else with. And I prayed that like a lot of nights for a while after I woke up crying, you know what I mean? But I really truly believe in that. You go through tough things in your life so you can share that. And that's happened. I've been able to sit down with people over coffee. I've had 2 players, the worst days of my life as a coach, that 2 times players' moms have passed away, and they're in this office right where you're sitting, just can't think of what's going on, in the future. But there's something powerful to be able to say, like, hey man, like, I know what that feels like, and it's really hard, but I promise you it gets better a little bit every day, and the tears are less and the happy memories are more on the day-to-day basis on that. And I truly believe in sports and the camaraderie of sports and the ability to, uplift each other through tough times and that. So I didn't really know the background of that, with the pot. So that's awesome, and happy to share that, because, man, that's been some of the best discussions of my life, is when it's like, hey man, let's open up a little bit about things that I've gone through. And I truly believe those rough things happen so you can help other people. And man, the teammates, there's a great book called Teammates Matter. If you want to read that, check it out. But like, it's so true. like my teammates got me through that tough time. My teammates, my coaching staff has got me through so many other things, ups and downs wise. So teammates do matter. It's a big deal. If you don't have some good teammates in your life, go get some.
Yeah.
You know, whether that's true teammates or whether that's, you know, your accountability group or your men's group or whoever you hang with, people that like the same type of things, your hunting group, your fishing group, whatever it is, get some supportive people around you because you're going to need them and they're going to need you at some point in time, right? So great question. I'm glad we wrapped it up with that.
Dude, what an answer. That's one of my favorites all time. But give us a quick plug. Where can people follow Minot State basketball and what's going on?
Yeah. MSUBeavers.com. And then we've got our social media stuff. I believe it's MSU Beavers Hoops. I'm not even sure my assistants run that, but yeah, we can tag some stuff out there, get the word out there. We're trying to, it's on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, whatever your social media stuff is. And we like to try to have some fun out there on some stuff, but follow up with us, man. We've got great local guys playing for us. We've got North Dakota in-state kids coming in. We've got guys in our program. We've had them from all over the world. It's a neat story. You mentioned Caleb from Australia. That's been having a great year for us. So we'd love the support. It's fun. They've got the kids zone. How cool is that?
Man,
they did that this year.
Awesome.
At the Dome, bouncy houses. Your kids can come around.
And the starting lineups when they turn the lights off and the production is amazing.
Yeah, our team here is trying to take it to the next level game day experience. They did a great job for football. Beaver football turned it around a little bit this year. Best year they've had in a long time. They've been grinding it for a long time with a lot of great coaches that couldn't get over the hump, but had a great year this year, and our game day experience is getting better and better. So it's fun. The MSU Dome is a great place to come watch a game, and
it's the best.
And if it's not Beaver basketball, man, go to your high school team and watch them play, man.
Yeah.
There's so much fun and so much pride. Those kids deserve it. They work so hard, and it just means a little more for somebody to, and if you have young kids, man, take them to the game, have them give the kids a high five after the game. Our guys stop and talk to the fans afterwards and talk to all the kids if they can. And man, it's fun to get out and watch. Support your local. If it's not basketball, support your local. Whatever it is, wrestling, football.
Yeah.
Get
it's
out.
Huge. You don't know who you're going to be talking
volleyball.
to.
Yeah, get out and have some fun in your community. And man, athletics is such a great way to do that. So hopefully everybody does that. And if you're listening, you like it. You like sports, so have a good time with it.
Well, Coach Murken, I appreciate you, man. I'm a Beaver guy this season. I want you to do well. It's been so much fun, and look forward to watching the rest. Appreciate your time.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
That's a wrap, Coach Murken.